Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. And this is the weekend forecast discussion. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. We're going to change things up a little bit for today. Normally what I do is look at the surface, explain what's going on currently in the weather, and then look at the model guidance going forward. One problem is that the model guidance is not really all that reliable right now because each run of the model guidance, regardless of whether you're using the GFS or the European model guidance, has a slightly different take on exactly what's going to happen with this upper level low that I have circled in yellow. So what I've decided to do is say, okay, let's scrap the models, step away from them, and let's look at the overall basic setup of the atmosphere going forward. And so that's what we're going to do for the weekend discussion. First, I want to point out that our polar jet stream, which I have here in blue, notice that it is cutting up towards Canada. Basically what's setting up here is a deep trough is developing over the west coast. And that's forcing the polar jet stream well to the north into Canada. And what that basically leads to, unfortunately, is that as these disturbances get cut off at the base of the trough, they cut off and become upper level lows. And then they become a real pain in the neck for meteorologists pretty much from the Mississippi River Valley all the way to the East Coast, because you're not really sure exactly where they're going to set up and how they're going to impact your location. Fortunately, if you take a step back and really think about exactly how this pattern is playing out, you have a pretty good idea of exactly what's going to happen if you don't get too bogged down into the details. So what we basically have here is an upper level low becoming cut off, and you can see it's very well developed and rather impressive. And we have right now high pressure sitting up along the East Coast, but I have a stationary front pictured here. That's for later on in the period, which I'll explain in a moment. But the key point here is that this upper level low is pulling up a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. How long is that going to last, and will that move into the Northern Mid-Atlantic? Well, let's zoom in a little bit on this pattern overall. This is the same image, but we're zooming in a little bit towards the Northern Mid-Atlantic. This is what I'm basically expecting with this pattern. This upper level low is going to meander around the Tennessee River Valley and Ohio River Valley starting tonight and continuing on all the way through Thursday. Eventually, on Thursday afternoon, the upper level low will weaken and start to move further north and eventually start to get caught up in that polar jet stream that's well to the north. But before that happens, a lot of disturbances ahead of this upper level low in this deep moisture field is going to move through the Northern Mid-Atlantic. Now at the surface, that's going to be represented as a stationary front with little waves of low pressure. Depending on the exact orientation of the upper level low will determine basically what type of weather you can expect for that day. And really, we're going to have to take a day-by-day approach with this type of feature. That's the reason why the model guidance is having a little bit of trouble trying to determine what days we're going to have heavy rain, or other days are going to be dry. It really depends on exactly where this upper level low sets up. And unfortunately, in this situation, we're going to have to take a day-by-day basis because the model guidance is not handling this setup very well. So what we can expect starting on Saturday night is continuing increasing clouds, a threat of showers increasing through the day into the evening. I think for most locations on Saturday, conditions are going to remain dry. Overcast, but dry. Sunday, a threat of showers. As the upper level low slowly approaches the Tennessee River Valley and parts of Western Virginia, we're going to have a little bit more lifting along the coast, and that lifting is going to enhance the potential for showers. From Monday on through Thursday, this upper level low that I have circled is going to be sitting and moving around anywhere between North Carolina to Ohio. Depending on what model guidance you like to look at, some model guidance has the upper level low sitting around North Carolina, and that just drives a ton of moisture into the East Coast, and you get days and days of moderate to heavy rain. Other model guidance has the upper level low a little bit further north towards Ohio, and with that type of setup, the precipitation is more of a showery type nature. Right now, I like the idea of these disturbances developing along this stationary boundary, and then each day you'll get a wave of rain. At times it'll be rather heavy, and other days you'll see the showers are going to be more scattered in nature because more lifting is focused either north or south of your location. Think of this as a thread of thunderstorms each day. Depending on where the strongest thunderstorms set up, some locations remain dry, other locations just a complete washout. So again, we're going to take this day by day. This is the latest HPC forecast for precipitation basically from now through 5 days, which is about Wednesday evening. Now, what I want to point out here is that the heaviest rainfall is further to the west of the northern mid-Atlantic. It's basically around the Appalachian Mountains. The reason why is because all this moisture is going to be lifted up over the Appalachian Mountains, and that's called orographic lifting, which enhances the potential for rainfall. That's why you see these 3, 4, and 5-inch amount rainfalls around the spine of the Appalachian Mountains. Can New York City and Philadelphia get those type of amounts? Yes. If a thunderstorm happens to train over a location, there is a chance for an isolated location getting 5 inches of rain. Where that's happening, you can't really pinpoint it because it's what's called a mesoscale feature. So we're going to have to, again, sit back and wait and watch how this whole pattern evolves. The point here is that each day you're going to have a threat of showers and thunderstorms. And the cumulative effect of all that potential for rain will lead to the potential for at least 1.5 inches of rain to fall over the New York City metropolitan area between now and Thursday. So, if you're living around, let's say, the Raritan River Basin or around the Passaic River Basin, use some caution, be prepared for the potential for flash flooding, but don't get too overly concerned just yet. We'll have to watch this again, see how this all evolves. But obviously, if the threat for heavy rain is focused on one of those river basins or anywhere in the northern mid-Atlantic, alerts will be sent out and you will be warned. Otherwise, what we can expect is that for next week, if you're not under this rainfall, it's not that bad of a day. You'll have some variable cloud cover, temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. Humidity is going to definitely be increased, and you're going to have to watch out for some low clouds and fog. If you fall under this heavy rain band for that particular day, unfortunately, your outdoor activities are going to be canceled because that rain is not going to be moving all that much until the upper level low repositions once again for the next day. So yes, next week does look rather wet. It does look rather volatile, but it's also going to be very warm because we're transporting a marine tropical air mass into the northern mid-Atlantic. So overall, next week is not going to be the best day for outdoor activities, but it won't be a complete washout every day. Thank you for trusting in NYNJPA weather as your weather source for the northern mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Have a great weekend, and if you're concerned about the rain, stay tuned to NYNJPA weather for the latest.